Hello, I'm Dr. Lisa Belisle, and you are listening to or watching Radio Maine. Today I'm checking back in again with my good friend, the Portland Art Gallery director, Emma Wilson. Great to be with you again.
Great to be with you also, Lisa. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. What's amusing about this is I think we started this whole radio show together, and it was remote because of COVID. And we've subsequently done many live shows with people. And here we are remote again, and it's you and I again. So it's a full circle situation.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
And I understand this is very similar to what you've been doing with the Portland Art Gallery. You've had to move and shift and kind of take things into consideration and go back to a more virtual, fewer people, all related to the pandemic. You've been very flexible with all of this.
We have been, and I think that our flexibility has helped us have a really good few years with the gallery, and we're so excited for the future of the gallery as well. We learned so much about how we can engage with people and how we can reach people, and then engage with them around that process of exploring art, purchasing art, talking about art, just staying connected around that theme. So it's funny. I was in a different house the first time that we did this interview, and now it's a year later, and it's so many things have shifted, but it's all been exciting. So, and at that time we were meeting separately because of COVID. Today it's more, other circumstances related to Maine weather. So
yes, we happen to be recording on one of these terrible weather days, and we're kind of officially going to what the schools are now doing during their snow days and going remote again for that purpose.
Exactly. I feel sorry for all those seniors that thought that they were never going to have to make up those snow days because they're going to graduate anyway. And instead now they just do their work remotely. So anyway, I digress. but yeah, it's been a really exciting time. We had an amazing 2021. Obviously, we've always been been staying very aware of all of the challenges that are happening around our country and in our world. What we have found are people just really wanting to connect around art, and so much of our work was about trying to reach the broadest audience possible with the most effective way to do it. And so our website was already in a great place, but we really amplified our marketing. We amplified ways in which people could find us, and then also ways in which we could find them. This radio show is one perfect example of that. I mean, we started this then, and now look at all of the people that we've been able to talk to and that you've been able to talk to and reach through your interviews. It's just been an enormous success for us. And I can't, there will be something in the future. We don't know exactly what that is, but it's just so fun to always have that knowledge, that flexibility, as you use that term, to be able to say, okay, how are we going to shift and adapt? How are we going to, what idea do we have? Like, let's explore it. Let's try it out, and to have that, those opportunities to reach people. It's been great. And then we still do have our gallery has been open since June of 2020. We reopened when the state allowed for that. We still have people that come in and engage, but with the artwork all the time, and they come to our openings and they have questions and all of that. It's not as though that aspect of the experience has changed. That's been magnified as well. It's people that are saying, hey, we just saw this post on Instagram. We had to come in. We've traveled to Maine. We have to come. You're on our list of places that we have to stop. So I'm saying a lot sort of the same time, but it's just because it's been so exciting. It's been so fun.
I noticed recently that you began a new initiative with writer and editor Susan Axelrod.
We have. That has been very fun. Our artists always have amazing stories, and they have people are curious about their process and how they approach their artwork. They want to understand and know more about that. They also really want to understand and know more about the artist, which I think is where your interviews are so effective. But they also want some technical understanding, or to broaden their understanding about some of the technical aspects of the art and of their art creation and so those interviews that Susan has started to write, you can find them on our website and under Art Matters, and it's very it's just a great opportunity for our artists to have that conversation. And Susan is such a beloved person certainly in my life, and such a talented writer, extraordinary writer. And so it's been very, very fun to reconnect with her there.
I also like the way that the Instagram feed is going. I've noticed that Emma McCold Burke, she's doing some new and interesting things with wardrobe changes. So really interacting with the art. That's very fun to see.
Yeah, it is really fun. And Emma has an extraordinary creative energy, and she has so much talent in terms of design and art. And so, yeah, she is doing a wonderful job of making that experience more enjoyable and just engaging with people, and people love it. So it's been fun. Yeah. And then I'm trying to dabble in the video aspect of things, which is slower, but I'm on the road a lot. So we started exploring that as an Instagram theme, but it's fun. It's fun. People want to know, that's a really easy way for people to know what's happening in a day, or it helps people to feel connected. It's funny. My sister, I have a sister who's an attorney, and Instagram is like her sort of one. She'll say that was like her lifeline during this whole last couple of years, because it's just been so fun to be able to see what people are doing, and just a little quick something to brighten the day. So.
Yeah, I went off Instagram for quite a while, but one of the things I missed about it was that was how I connect with my middle child. So yeah, it's not that we stopped communicating with one another, but it's just certainly the way that she seems to where she seems to gravitate towards. So it was a way for me to kind of check back in with her visually.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you take extraordinary photographs. You're so talented as a photographer. So it's good to have you back. I love seeing what you sharing the beauty of Maine and beyond, wherever you are. So, but it is true, right? We have our kids, and we have parents, and we have friends, and whatever that way in which we are able to connect with them. We're going to try to find it. We're going to use it.
Speaking of connecting, I noticed that you've been doing some fun things in your own life. That you had it was, I guess, a mother adopted for the day daughter dinner that you went to. Not that you got rid of your own daughters, or you adopted another daughter permanently, but you went with some friends, and everybody brought their daughters along. And I think that you had the daughter of a local photographer that you borrowed. Is that correct?
Carrie here. Yeah, I did. And they came to the opening first, which was super fun. And then we went over to Evo for dinner, and Emma McCold Burke was there, and her mom, and myself, and my adopted daughter for the evening, Colette. And it was a lot of fun to just actually, having everybody there. Like Chris Strong came with her daughter, Caitlin, who's a senior in high school. And so we had the range of ages there, which made it really fun. And everybody exploring these different foods. Evo has a sort of Mediterranean and also seafood influence, and everybody was on board. It was enjoyable. And then while there, one of our artists that's featured, Sage, was there. So it was fun to see her as well. She was from Vermont. So Portland's a great place to come and visit and do that.
Absolutely. You also had a group cooking class recently, I believe, over at North 43, and that was pretty special.
You really are just paying attention to my Instagram feed. This is what it's all about, right?
I got to keep up with you. You're everywhere, Emma.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. That was so fun. I didn't even know this existed. similar group of people, but slightly larger, a bigger group. It was 14 of us, no kids in this one. And Stephanie Brown from North 43, Bistro, it just was so fun. We were in the kitchen with her and a couple of her sous chefs, and we didn't have a lot of responsibility, but we did partake in some of the preparation, and then had this amazing family style meal for 14. And we had the whole restaurant to ourselves. It was a beautiful night. It was really magical. It was fun. A lot of laughs, just a lot of laughing. So it's a good time.
I know, having interviewed Stephanie Brown for Radio Maine and knowing that she's a friend of the Portland Art Gallery and a longtime friend of ours, mutual friend, that they've also spent a lot of energy being flexible and really trying to incorporate new ways of thinking about offering food and a wonderful experience to the community. So it's an excellent contrast, I think, because there were initially a lot of places that felt like they could no longer stay in business. And to see the people who have said, no, I don't know what's going to happen next necessarily, but even though we're now 2 years in, they took on the challenge, just like the Portland Art Gallery, and they said, we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephanie has been a wonderful partner in many ways, and watching her and working with her to create new opportunities through the whole course of this last few years. We had artists, remote celebrations where our artists presented. We had artists that actually went to the restaurant and presented. She's always been but she is always looking for that opportunity, and not saying that's not going to work because of this is what's going on. It's like, okay, how can we make this work? And that is one of the things that I absolutely love about our gallery experience is can't spend a lot of time on what's not going to work. There's way too many opportunities to go down that rabbit hole, right? We just got to figure out what is going to work. And sometimes things work right away, and sometimes things need a little bit more, effort. So I think it's funny because that became my word of 2022. It was like about effort. Like putting effort in is so important. And sometimes you just think that just don't bother, but really it's important to bother. It's important to try and to put some effort into it and see what happens. You might surprise yourself. And so I think that is what has happened in the gallery a lot with our online outreach, a lot with reaching, clients that will send us an email. You can tell they're kind of quietly curious about a piece, but then really being able to just reach right back to them and say, let's talk about it. Let's send you pictures. Let's, arrange for you to have an opportunity to see it. Let's arrange for you to, here's a video about the artist. Here's a radio interview about the artist. Like anything that we can use that we have available to make that effort, to make that connection, and to respond to our clients. So, and I can't, of course, ignore the huge aspect of that, which is our artists and the effort that they make every single day. And this is their world, and they have been hugely responsive, such great partners to work with. We, in the beginning of the year, now we're spilling into February a little bit, but we have these opportunities for these artist review meetings that we do with each of them. And there's such valuable conversations because we can work together towards the year ahead, and then also we can evaluate what's gone on in the year past. So, and they're fascinating, and there's such I just have so much respect for our artist community. So, yeah.
So, when we think about business or we think about education, they often talk about a learning culture versus a performance culture, where, the job is to either kind of continually grow and evolve versus the job is to reach goals. And when I look at a small entrepreneurial business like the Portland Art Gallery, you really end up having to be a hybrid of both. You have to be a learning-oriented performance culture because you need to help the artists sell their works, obviously. You need to create sustainability, but you also are given the opportunity to do it in a way that is more flexible. But that requires that you think about things as, okay, how do we attempt this but not feel discouraged if it doesn't work immediately? How do we continually upgrade what we're doing so that we might not have done it perfectly this time, but we'll do it a little better next time? How do you maintain that kind of balance of the need to perform, but also create space for learning?
Yeah, it's interesting because I even tell my kids, right? The important aspect is if you try, like, are you really trying here? So that is a simplified version of that. But I think it's you're right. It is this hybrid. There's just a constant learning and performing aspect to it, and I'm trying to think of what a good example might be of that, but. This is not necessarily exactly related, but we're constantly talking about how it is that a person comes to know about our gallery, right? How do they come to learn about the Portland Art Gallery? And I can think of a client who now is a regular collector with us. He learned about us through online, through finding an artist, finding it online. Then we met at the artist studio, and then they ended up purchasing something. Then we arranged for, delivery. So we went down there, and then we had, the opportunity to look further at the space, which then resulted in 2 further purchases. And so the relationship has continued. What started as something perhaps somewhat perfunctory, looking at a website, then became, which was so important to reach, right? That was the hook. And then it's also how to expand upon that and how to learn about what it is that this person's needs might be when it comes to art. And then how are we able to then work with them and do the best that we can to engage with them. And then there's the person that walks straight into the gallery and they see something and then they leave, and then they contact us later. They start following us on Instagram, and then they start listening to the radio show or whatever it is. And then we hear from them 6 months later. And then we don't know if what's we put into place has actually worked. But then 6 months later, they've reached out to us and they're like, we were listening to the radio show and now we're really interested in moving forward with this purchase. So there's so many moving parts. There's somebody that learned about our gallery, had come into the gallery. I think she originally found us on the website because she's from Massachusetts. She found us on the website, found our website. And then I went down to her home, loaded up 13 pieces and went down there, and we did a fantastic opportunity. She'd already collected, that's right. She'd already purchased work from us, but we just had this opportunity to go and spend time together. And then we don't know necessarily that's going to be the person when they first bought those 2 pieces, they're going to be that person in 5 months that we're going to be driving all of these pieces down and having this next level of relationship with. It's just, I'm not sure if that's answering your question, but it's just a constant reevaluating, reassessing, but always wanting to just to use whatever means we have to connect with our buyers. And to share the work that our artists create. We're so proud of them. We're so proud to be working with them. And to represent them.
Well, I think of virtual openings as being the perfect blend of performance-oriented and learning-oriented. Not only what you've had to learn and what Kevin and Emma and the rest of the art gallery staff have needed to learn in order to put these on, but also what you've asked the artists to do with you. And, these are artists of all different ages, stages in life, levels of comfort with technology. And it's something that, maybe if you're a kid and you're going to remote learning, you're used to being on a Zoom feed for the classroom, but not if you're, someone who's never even used FaceTime with a grandchild. So I think that willingness to kind of step into it despite feeling uncomfortable, and that willingness to learn, and with the hope of connecting and with the hope of, again, creating a sustainable business environment. I find that really interesting.
Yeah, virtual openings have would be a very clear example of that. When we first started in April of 2020, we had our first virtual opening, and we felt like, what are we doing? But it ended up being exactly the right thing to do, and then our artists stepped up to the plate and worked with us. And then we worked we had a certain format that we used for a while, and that seemed to sort of not be as sustainable for a number of reasons, mostly because of timing. And then we started to look at another platform, and then now we're working with a more recent platform in the last 2 months that we started to do. So it's still a little bit rough, but it's awesome because we're still doing it and we're still trying, and we're going to keep trying, and we're going to keep working at it until it feels like it's in the right place, and part of that you can't control because you're dealing with all these different people with different technological backgrounds and different Wi-Fi and different, and that is fascinating because I think that's very much what's happening in the world everywhere. That's where we are now. So our kids are more proficient, perhaps, and more comfortable in a lot of different ways, but as a society, we're all just having to rise up to that, to be able to stay in touch.
Yeah, I mean, you're referring to something that I think a lot of people have started to term digital equity, which is, this ability to connect with one another using technology. And you can think about it in a much broader scale. How do we bring children into classrooms if they don't have Wi-Fi? Or how do you reach older people who maybe don't even have a cell phone that has a camera? But I mean, it's interesting how reliant we have become on this technology. And so everybody's at kind of a different phase, and sometimes we forget that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And sometimes, I forget that, like when I'm working with a client or with an artist, I mean, certainly an artist with the virtual opening example, and then also with clients, that don't always have the capacity, or some of them are much more savvy than I am, but there is not, that's the digital equity conversation is huge. It's a large aspect of what we need to be talking about.
So looking at this piece that you've chosen to have hung up behind me, this is Jean Jack. She's obviously an artist that has been with the Portland Art Gallery for a long time. She's beloved. She's creative. She's actually changed her style somewhat over time. She's changed her color choices over time. And what I love about Jean is she has walked this planet a few revolutions here, and yet she's more than happy to show up in the studio and have an interview. She's more than happy to, do what she can to kind of reach out to people who might want to know her better as a person. And it's really that kind of, again, that growth mindset, that learning orientation that enables her to kind of stay fresh and relevant. And it's part of the creative spirit. It's part of being an artist, I believe.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I thought of her, when Kevin asked me about the background, I'm like, and I've learned so much from Jean, and that's just one of our 59 artists. I've just learned so much from her, and I think some of that I don't think she even is aware of. But she's just it's the growth mindset, and I have so much respect and admiration, and then also she's fun to stay connected with. Like, I enjoy going to her studio. We do that with some regularity because she's constantly acquiring work for clients that are interested in her work, and she stays in really good communication with us, and she directs people to us all of the time, and it's just been a really valuable relationship, valuable gallery artist relationship. So, but it's that growth mindset, and it's also, it's not a toughness, but there's a clarity to the way in which she approaches things that I really appreciate. It's kind of like just seeing through it, like just sees through a lot of the noise that can happen. And I feel like her paintings are the same way. There's a simplicity, there's something happening there for sure, but she gets to the essence of it. And so I think that's one of the reasons why people are drawn to her work. And that's one of that's a little bit about Jean. Yeah.
It's been nice too, because I've seen that people like Jean and Jane Damon have been willing to bring another artist in. They'll bring a newer artist in, they'll welcome them, they'll enable them to be part of the Portland Art Gallery community. And I know that is really appreciated. Some of the newer artists that you've had come into the Portland Art Gallery, I think to have that sense of belonging, especially during these interesting times, has been really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a fairly quiet, solitary time that an artist spends in the studio. So I definitely have come to recognize and support and realize that connection that our artists make with each other. I mean, our openings, so many artists increasingly are showing up to the openings, and they have that sense of community connection, and they're all supporting each other. I loved it. So we sent out these thumbnails. Kevin sent out these thumbnails to all of the artists about the openings for the upcoming year. And there were so many artists that actually, it wasn't their own show. They just put it on their Instagram page because they wanted to support their fellow artists at the gallery. And it's just that idea that, we all rise together is really something that I think comes with an understanding and experience. And Jean and Jane are certainly two people who they feel the way in which they carry themselves and the way they make decisions. It's not about what that might do to them. And I'm not suggesting that's true of other artists. It's not how that might impact them negatively. It's how it impacts them positively, because, it's bringing everybody up and it's bringing awareness and recognition to the gallery. So, they're really just very fortunate to work with such strong people. Yeah.
I also like the fact that you've brought in artists who are from other parts of the country. I mean, you've always had some representation of people who have a Maine connection, but also have a connection somewhere else. But there are artists now don't live in Maine for any part of the time, and maybe their subjects aren't really as Maine connected as others, but you've opened the doors and you said, this is important. We want to have other people be part of our community.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely the brand of the gallery has a Maine focus, but just like we're reaching out to clients all around the world now through this digital platform, whatever, we also are being introduced and having opportunities to work with artists that are not necessarily living directly in Maine or have ever lived in Maine. Some of our artists, like, they live in Massachusetts, but they grew up in Maine and they have that Maine connection. But people like, Rodney Dennis or Carlos Gomez de Francisco or Andrew Faulkner, like, that's expanding our web web, no pun, but that's expanding our opportunities to reach broader audience. And it's been really fun to be able to do that and to think about how we can use this digital understanding and to be able to do that. I mean, there's still logistic aspects that come into that, which is shipping and, handling of the artwork and whatnot, but we're working through that, and it's been really great.
As you're moving forward into, I'll say the next year, but let's say the next phase, are there things that you would like to see happen with the Portland Art Gallery? Are there things that you feel excited about or potentials that you're willing to discuss?
That's always the question. I'm like, wait, am I supposed to discuss that, or am I? There's two parts of my head. I'm just using so yeah. Well, definitely, I'm really looking forward to. And already 2022 is off to a great start. We're finding that people are still excited to talk about and engage around art. I think that there's this whole cultural shift, quite frankly, around the arts and around some other aspects that's happened as a result of what's gone on in the last couple of years. And it's really exhilarating to be able to be a part of that conversation all the time and to kind of be able to jump right in it. People want to know, they want to understand what it is that's happening in a gallery setting or in an artist's mind or an artist's process. And there's sort of this overall slowing down and reprioritizing a lot. At first I think we thought it was about people spending more time at home and having more time to spend in their surroundings is leading them to be wanting them to, to add more original work. I think it's deeper than that now. And I think that's where we're going to have the opportunity to really to continue to grow and deepen those nurture those relationships and in those conversations. And then also with that have, effective sales, which is obviously we're a business. So that's a huge part of it. There's just always there's always more to do, and there's always always ways that we can respond more quickly. There's always ways in which we can engage a little bit further. There are things that are coming down the pike for Portland Art Gallery in 2022, and I don't feel like I can say too much more about that, but I really encourage people to stay tuned about it, because it's all about enhancing the experience for our client and enhancing the opportunities for our artists to get to reach the broadest audience possible. So, and I plan to be on the road a lot. So, which is something that I truly enjoy, having that opportunity to be engaging with our artists and with our clients, figuring that out. So.
Well, with that fairly significant teaser and cliffhanger, I will suggest that people stay closely connected to the doings of the Portland Art Gallery to see what might be coming up next.
Absolutely. And then, yes, please do. And please, I hope that people, stop in to see us or follow us online and all of those things. And we just so appreciate that.
Well, I've appreciated the opportunity to speak with my dear friend, Portland Art Gallery Director, Emma Wilson. I know that she's worth connecting with at the Portland Art Gallery, but virtually if you can't get there. And I know it's worth connecting with all of our artists at the Portland Art Gallery. As a result of having worked with the Portland Art Gallery, doing Radio Maine over the last year, it's been wonderful to broaden my own community, to learn more about creativity, and to think about the spirit that is going to move us forward into this next phase of our cultural living. So, Emma, thank you very much for joining me today, and it's really been wonderful to speak with you again.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Lisa. Great to see you. And thank you for all of your work to support the gallery.
My pleasure.